Hello again, and welcome back to week 38 of the fourth year of the Religious Education Initiative. This is day 3. We're continuing with the Gospel of John, and this week I messed up. And last week and said it was then, but this week we're going to actually finish the Gospel. So, last time we saw Jesus appear to the disciples while they went fishing. Although they had caught nothing, he granted them a great catch of fish, and then he shared a meal with them, the first meal after his resurrection. This time we will see him speak with Simon Peter in a conversation that is profoundly difficult but vitally important for St. Peter. So, this is verse 15 of chapter 21. When they had finished breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" He said to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." Jesus said to him, "Feed my lambs." A second time he said to him, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" He said to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." Jesus said to him, "Tend my sheep." He said to him the third time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter felt hurt. He was grieved because he said to him the third time, "Do you love me?" And he said to him, "Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." Jesus said to him, "Feed my sheep. Very truly I tell you, when you were younger, you used to fasten your own belt and go wherever you wished. But when you grow old, you will stretch out your hands, and someone else will fasten a belt around you and take you where you do not wish to go." He said this to indicate the kind of death by which he would glorify God. After this he said to him, "Follow me." Peter turned and saw the disciple whom Jesus loved following them. He was the one who had reclined next to Jesus at the supper and had said, "Lord, who is it that is going to betray you?" When Peter saw him, he said to Jesus, "Lord, what about him?" Jesus said to him, "If it is my will that he remain until I come, what is that to you? Follow me." So the rumor spread in the community that this disciple would not die. Yet Jesus did not say to him that he would not die, but, "If it is my will that he remain until I come, what is that to you?" This is the disciple who is testifying to these things and has written them, and we know that his testimony is true. But there are also many other things that Jesus did. If every one of them were written down, I suppose that the world itself could not contain the books that would be written. Okay, so I won't say much about this, just to focus on what's happening here. And let's look specifically at, where it says Peter was grieved. Peter felt hurt because Jesus said to him the third time, "Do you love me?" I think the reason Peter is hurt is because he didn't know what was going on here. First, he thinks Jesus is just making conversation. He's falling into this normal thing. Peter was used to Jesus saying unusual things and just throwing out an answer and seeing if it stuck. We've never seen Peter ashamed or shy about this. And the Lord has welcomed him back, and everything feels normal. And then Jesus says, "Do you love me?" And Peter's like, "Yeah, sure, I love you." And then Jesus says it again, and Peter's like, deja vu, "Yeah, I love you." And then Jesus says the third time, "Do you love me?" And then Peter gets it. Then he remembers the 3 denials. Then he remembers his broken promises. Then he remembers everything that he had intended and hoped and planned, and all the shame and grief and self-loathing that he felt after he denied the Lord. That's what it means, I think, when he says he was grieved. And then he speaks with a little more humility, and he says, "Lord, you know everything. You know my heart. You know my weakness. You know my brokenness. You know my good intentions. You know my failures. You know that I love you." Right? And then Jesus says, "Okay, feed my sheep." Then he tells him that he will have the chance to bear witness to him, to sacrifice for him, to suffer for him. And then he says, "Now, follow me." So he renews the call. He says the same thing to him at this point as he had said way back at the fishing boat, in the story that I don't think we even heard that story from John. Back at the beginning of the Gospel of John, but when he's in his father's fishing boat. But then Peter gets a little defensive, which makes sense. Then he wants to know, well, what about the other guy? So he says, what about John? What about, this fellow following us? What's going to happen to him? Is he going to have to sacrifice too? And Jesus says, basically, the divine version of none your business. What is it to you if I choose for him to remain alive until I come? As for you, I'm talking to you, Peter, you follow me. So the Lord is very gentle with Peter. He restores him, and he's already going about this restoration of Peter following the denial before Peter even realizes it. Peter is surely awkward, but he's just kind of fit right back into his role before. But Jesus doesn't allow that to sit there and fester. He brings it to the surface. He walks Peter through undoing his denial, and he gives him his marching orders. And I think this is just beautiful. So anyway, that's it for today. God bless you all. See you next week.